The Minister of Housing and Construction, Mr. Sajith Premadasa, has agreed to show us the fruits of his hard labour. And on that note, it's a pleasure to introduce Mr. Premadasa, who of course needs no introduction. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Premadasa, and thank you for agreeing to be on this program on Newsline. Mr. Premadasa, today we've been watching an event where you're handing over some houses. It's part of your Gamudava scheme, is it?
Yes.
And are you doing this, your father initiated this very successful program in the past. And does it give you, is that where you get your inspiration from for this program?
Well, let me at the outset explain to you the fact that in Sri Lanka right now there is a huge housing issue. In fact, I think to categorize it as a housing crisis would not be an exaggeration.
Right.
We have done a survey and we have ascertained that there are 2.5 million families in our country that needs housing assistance.
Okay.
In order to build their own house, to upgrade their house, so on and so forth. So certainly participatory housing was enunciated and initiated by my late father.
Right.
But we have adapted and adopted that particular model to suit the present-day circumstances.
Right.
And His Excellency the President and the Right Honourable Prime Minister has given me the support, the requisite impetus and the necessary resources to implement this path-breaking program.
You seem quite happy with the portfolio that you've been given. And is there a single aspect that gives you greater happiness than anything else when you have these houses built, participatory housing you called it?
If I may use just one word,
yes.
It's because of empowerment.
Right.
I'm empowering the landless.
Right.
I'm empowering the homeless. I'm helping, facilitating and supporting the poor and the destitute.
Right.
In our society. So you're quite right. It gives me a great thrill to give leadership to this type of a national development program.
And do the recipients of these of your assistance, do they have title deeds to the lands as well?
Certainly. Certainly.
Is that also given by the government, or is the land something that is part of the recipient's sort of efforts?
All these houses that we see, they are built on government land.
I see.
You see, during the previous administration, most of these lands were clustered and handed over to various private individuals and entities for their personal gain.
Okay.
Our government, under the President's and the Prime Minister's leadership, we have done a complete and comprehensive survey of the whole country to gauge the number of landless and homeless.
Right.
And the requisite recipients are chosen by the various governmental authorities, the relevant district secretaries, the relevant divisional secretaries, and the relevant Gramaniladaharis at the grassroots level. They decide who is suitable to obtain a plot of land and build their house.
I see.
So it is done in a very, very transparent manner.
Right.
So there is no, nobody gets 2 plots of land. No one gets to concentrate all the perks and privileges and support given by this program.
And if somebody had not voted for the United National Party or for you, would they necessarily preclude themselves from getting this?
Let me categorically state that party politics is completely out of our system.
Right.
So the basic requirements for obtaining suitability for this type of a program is one has to be it has to be a married family unit that does not possess land, and they should be from a poor economic background. So those three categorizations are not done by the politicians. They are done by the relevant district secretaries, the divisional secretaries, the relevant deputy land commissioners, and the governmental authorities.
And the village headman?
Certainly, yeah. So basically the community itself decides through the various decision-making structures that we have put in place. They decide who is suitable and who is unsuitable.
Do you have
it's a very open process.
And what about you? Do you have any influence over who gets on that list?
Not at all.
Right.
Not at all. If as I said, there are three factors that contribute to being a potential recipient.
Right.
That is, you have to be married, and there has to be a family unit. You should not possess or have ownership of a land or a house.
Okay. On that note,
and you have to be from a low-income background.
I see. Okay. And on that note, we should go in for a short break on Newsline. Don't go away. After all, this is Newsline, helping you stay connected. Hello, welcome back to Newsline. And we're today recording and broadcasting from Udawalawe, where we're joined by the Minister of Housing and Construction, Mr. Sajith Premadasa, in a very rare interview. Actually, why are these interviews so rare, Mr. Premadasa? What keeps you from talking to the press more often?
Well, I mean, if you request that I speak more often, I'll certainly do so, but it has to fit within my tight working schedule.
I see. All right. Thank you very much. That's we shall. Our producers take a note of that. So please don't, don't block their numbers.
Not at all.
Now then, the people obviously very, very happy because you're actually delivering something and not blaming a previous government for not doing anything. Well, maybe you are, but the fact is that you all are delivering. And what do you hear from the people when you visit these people? You are one of these working ministers where you are where you're interacting with the people. What do you hear the people say to you?
Well, I think most of the people are very happy about this program. They are happy to be participating in this program, and it's actually a breath of fresh air in terms of actual grassroots level, pro-poor, pro-people, community-driven development. And this is exactly what His Excellency the President and the Right Honourable Prime Minister envisaged through their respective manifestos. We gave a new purpose to the word development, and we ensured that everyone in the system of governance are involved in the grassroots level micromanagement of the development program.
Now we need to ask this question because obviously your surname is Premadasa, and Premadasa attracts a certain feeling amongst people of national leadership. So any interview with Sajith Premadasa would be incomplete without me asking you about your leadership aspirations from now onwards.
Well, to be very honest, my present intention right now is to fulfill the tasks that I have given to me by His Excellency the President and the Right Honourable Prime Minister. That is to ensure shelter for all by 2025. And I am fully satisfied with championing and implementing through a hands-on approach towards achieving that target. I have absolutely no inclination of going any further at this right moment. I think, you see, of course I'm not going to hide any intention of my aspirations, but those issues also will be people-driven and decided by the people. So we'll leave it at that. I think there is a much more gigantic task of achieving shelter for all by 2025.
And can I ask you, Mr. Premadasa, your program, is it? It seems to be, or appears to be, predominantly based in the south or in your constituency. What about the people beyond your constituency? What about the people of the former conflict areas? And there must be housing that is required in the areas that were also affected by the tsunami, and so on. So, what about the people out of your constituency?
Well, let me correct you on one issue. That is, this particular model village is based in the Savanagala division of Monaragala district, which is not my district. And this year specifically, we are embarking on 46 model villages in the northern province. And we are expending close upon 1.3 billion Sri Lankan rupees for housing in the north. And an addition of 500 million rupees more has been allocated for the district of Patiklo. So this housing program entails covering all 9 provinces, 25 districts, 331 AGA divisions, 14,022 Grama Sevaka divisions, and 38,000 micro villages. So it's wrong to categorize this program being biased towards a particular area.
Okay. So your plans include the rest of the country?
Well, not just plans. We have initiated the programs, and activities are taking place as we speak right now.
And how about what about the cost of these houses that we see here? What size of the plot? Is it 20 perches? Is it 10 perches?
So this is a 20 perch land provided by the government. The recipient gets a freehold deed. And this particular house, it's 550 square feet. Okay? And
cost-wise?
It is what you call a people participatory flexible housing program. Now, here no contractors are involved. The Ministry of Housing and Construction and the National Housing Development Authority facilitates the process of house building by providing a 300,000 rupee loan. So with the people's participation, the particular family unit has constructed a house worth 800,000 to 900,000 rupees. So there's a great deal of value addition. So through this people's participatory program, you don't have the usual complaints that you get to hear about with governmental contracts, contractors, corruption, money leakages, awarding based on friendship. None whatsoever. This is a very, very clean, pure, transparent process.
So, Mr. Premadasa, this gives you great happiness. You're doing a job that you say you are enjoying, and people seem to be happy. But what of the legacy? The legacy of the Premadasa. The Premadasa legacy was very well known all over the world for housing. And how mindful are you of the powerful legacy that has been left behind by President Ranasinghe Premadasa?
Well, certainly my father set extremely high standards in terms of work ethic, adherence to principles of morality and ethics and good governance. Most importantly, achieving objectives. So it's a very, very hard act to emulate. But I think with the extremely skilled set of officials at the center and the periphery that we possess in our ministry and the relevant authorities, I'm quite confident that we will be able to achieve the highest standards in terms of providing housing and shelter for the poor and the destitute and the homeless.
Would you say that you are in the hearts and the minds of the people?
That's a question that you'll have to ask the people.
What about
Whether I'm in the hearts and minds of the people, I think it's a very subjective matter which I don't want to answer. I think if you do a very transparent assessment, then you're very capable of obtaining the most realistic answers to your queries.
Are you, Mr. Premadasa, are you constantly aware that you are, or do you get the feeling that you are being almost constantly compared to the other Premadasa, to your father?
Yes, but I have no stigma about it as such. But it's always in the back of my mind, and
do you aspire to reach those high
certainly standards? One day. Of course, if the people wish so. At the end of the day, all these determinations are not driven by a single individual. The people of the country should decide where I end up. So I'm willing to take upon any responsibility that the people wish that I undertake. And of course, within the rubric of the party political system in our country, I think people and party and the party leadership will determine the political destiny of anybody who's aspiring to high office.
Thank you. We're talking party politics here, and we are in the bang middle of an area that was probably better associated with the former president and his family. And what have you done, or how do you feel now about the chances of the United National Party in these areas, in the south, in the deep south?
Once again, I have to correct, this is not the south. This is the Vellassa area, which is the Monoragala district. But then again, I think the United National Party and our government, headed by the Honourable Prime Minister, under the auspices of His Excellency the President, the national government that is in place has taken up most of the arduous issues in terms of people's livelihoods, standard of living, various other issues that concern the livelihood of people, such as unemployment. And our government has articulated a very comprehensive program which has to be enacted. And I think implementation process will reveal the fruits of this program, and we hope to embark on it as soon as possible. For example, the setting up of industrial zones throughout the country, with Hambantota district at the center. That will create a huge amount of employment opportunities, which will ensure that at least 2 or 3 people from every household will be employed with a high earnings capacity, which will ensure that the basic human needs of that particular household will be met. So I think I'm quite confident that our government will be able to fulfill the aspirations and expectations of the people of our country.
And final question: after years in the background, in the last so nearly 10 years of the former administration, you must have been frustrated at the limited sort of achievements you were able to make during the period in opposition. And now that you're in government, do you think now that the people that you are detecting the people's appreciation, because perhaps the people from these areas, as you say, Monoragala and in the deep south, they've been left behind or perhaps forgotten because of some of these bigger projects. Some refer to these as vanity projects or hugely expensive projects, not giving a return straight away, like the port and the airport and so on. Now, do you now get the feeling that the people under this government and under the leadership of people such as yourselves in housing and so on, that the people are that much happier now that they don't appear to be so forgotten?
Well, we as front runners of this administration, we have this great urge, a great thirst to embark on a path-breaking, express-speed development program. These are His Excellency the President's and Honorable Prime Minister's sentiments. Now, the difficult task is transforming and translating these sentiments and visions into action. So, each ministry is involved in enacting national level programs under the direction of the President and the Prime Minister. And we have been given certain tasks, and each individual ministry has to ensure that those tasks are achieved. But compared with the extremely corrupt mega projects that were enacted during the previous regime, with absolutely zero return to the grassroots level people, I think people are extremely happy that all the funds that are allocated from the center are percolated right down to the periphery and to the pockets of the people without any corrupt-oriented leakages. So that way, I think our government is a breath of fresh air for the people of our country.
Actually, that wasn't the last question, because there is this other question we have to ask you. So what next? What's the next step?
The next step is achieving shelter for all by 2025.
Sajith Premadasa, thank you very much for being on Newsline. We really do appreciate your time, rare as it is, but thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that's it from Udawalawe in the Monoragala district, and with Sajith Premadasa for Newsline. We'll see you again, same time, same place tomorrow morning. Take care and God bless.